Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club with 4 race starts. We're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3 and Category 4.
Barco just stretching this group out and pushing on here. Barco not wanting an easy start here. Barco showing us her absolute intention from the start. Jenny Sanchez using the terrain to her advantage as she puts a dig and she puts a kick in up and over the bridge to put a gap in onto this Category 2 race. She's got 12 seconds at the moment.
She's going to come into the finish. She's lapping riders on the way through. It's going to be Madeline Pablo, our Category 4 rider, who solos to a race win here today.
Alves is in 3. They are moving through. Geraldo Reyes kicks. Del Rocco's on the front. The banner is coming, but the gradient is steep. It's just shy of 10% as they're coming up over the top of the climb. Del Rocchio is going to take this. Ribaudo has pushed. Antico is in 2, but Ribaudo has gone for it. Ribaudo has kicked. Ribaudo is the one out front at the moment, and it's Ribaudo who is going to see the finish line before Antico as Ribaudo goes through the finish line in 1. She's got 12 seconds on second place, and Agudela is going to do it. Agudela is the rider who comes through to take the win on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It is the 2nd of April and we are here for Qualifier Race number 1. Now, March was fast and furious and the women gave us some outstanding racing, and I, for one, am looking forward to April. So, my name is Emma Martin and I am going to be with you today bringing you all of the action. Later on we will be having Matt Payne join us in the studio live from the finish of the men's race. Yes, the men's race is on at the moment and the finish of that will be coming up shortly. If you want to watch both streams you can on your computer, or of course stay with us, watch the women's race, and after the completion today, drop in and watch the men's race on the MyWhoosh YouTube channel. So where are these women going today? So we are off to Arabia, and the course today is a classic. So the women today have 35 kilometers of race distance and an overall elevation of 904 meters. So some minor climbs, some rolls and some bumps until we get to 25.3 kilometers today. And then we have a Category 1 climb to the checkered flag at the top. It is 10.43 kilometers in length with 692 meters of climbing, an average gradient of 6.5%. But as you can see, there are some stepped sections on that climb, and we will see some steeper gradients underneath the wheels of our women today. Now, along the way, there are 7 segments, and these are discrete timed sections that will allow us to see the racing in action and see what is going on today. So, with a course like that, it is going to be an interesting women's race. We have 4 different races: Category 1 in the yellow jerseys, Category 2 in the green, Category 3 in the blue, and our first starters, Category 4 in those red jerseys. Now, Category 4 underway in just around a minute's time, and you can see 16 minutes still till our Category 1 riders leave the pens. So in Category 4 today, we have, wearing those red jerseys, a selection of individual riders. No teams present today. The team competition at the end of the month in the finals. So 9 riders on the start sheets today, a small field in Category 4. Now, throughout April, we have 3 qualifying rounds, and it's 2 verified finishes in those qualification rounds to qualify you for the monthly finals. So 9 riders joining us today in those red jerseys. So, as we are down on start line with our category 4 riders, the clock ticks down and the power ramps up, and away our category 4 riders go on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club for the first qualifier of April. So the riders come out the start pens and on to the course proper. We're in with Maria Jose Gallego, and Gonzalez is with her as well. It's these two women who are leading this race pack out of the start pens as they take this right-hand turn onto the wooden bridge. There's a short gap back to one rider, but it's looking like everybody is out of the pen and out of the pen smoothly as this group ride together on the early stages of this course. Now, our category 4 riders today, our first starting riders, and we mentioned that there are 4 different race starts, 5 minutes between each of our starting categories. So our category 4 riders will be the leaders on the road until, or I say until, they may not be caught, so until one of our other race categories comes past them. So leaders on the road today currently all tapping along at a good pace here out of the start pen. So moving through the first section of this race, which is pretty flat until we get to around 5 kilometers of course distance. Now, let's have a little quick run through the screen. You can see on the top left-hand corner of your screen, that is the data around the individual rider that we are looking at. So Olivieri de Freitas at the moment, currently at 132 watts, just ticked into the green there, indicating she is riding in the draft. When the number is in the black, it indicates the rider is not within the draft. Currently 84 revs per minute cadence and 158 the heart rate. Current pace, 29 kph, just shy of 2 minutes of racing complete and 1 kilometer of distance now travelled. The top right hand corner of your screen gives you the graphics of what is taking place in the race, so you can see the course coming up in front of you like a satellite navigation for the riders, and you can see the profile of the course underneath. It also gives you information around meters climbed and what terrain is coming up for those riders, whereas on the right hand side of your screen the list of names are the riders within the race in the order that they are currently within. The purple bar indicates that that is the rider we are currently looking at, and you will see the numbers and the riders highlight up in red or in yellow, and that indicates the power level to which the riders are putting out. So if the rider highlights as red, it means they are attacking, and their watts are going into the red, indicating the pace they are moving at. Now, the information that you see on front of you is also used by our riders in the race today, and it is still Oliviera de Freitas that we are in with at the moment. Now, this group being led by Tandingen, Vink is in here as well, Gonzalez, Madeira, Agudelo, as well as, Jose Gallego. And we will see these riders move and move well as they move through the Ferrari showroom at the moment. So these riders in this category 4 race now underway on the Sunday Race Club, moving through at a steady pace, just shy of 30 kph on this course today. So the blue banner you can see in front of you is indeed the banner that indicates the start of our segment number 1 for these riders, coming at 2 kilometers into the course. That segment is 1 kilometer. The end of the segment also signified by a blue banner, but it will have the word finish on it other than the word start, which is the one we have just seen. So as our category 4 riders continue on that first segment, we can see in start pens our other categories. So our category 3 riders are the riders about to be underway. So in category 3 today, we can see we have a slightly larger race field than category number 4, and the one team present, Team Golden Light, ever present Team Golden Light, represented today by Light. 13 riders on the start sheets today alongside this one team. So Light is joined on the start line by Fioroni, Ribaldo, Antico, Barco, Ochoa, Higuita, Giuliano, Lopez, Agudelo, Reyes. We have some outstanding women in this category 3 race. In fact, throughout March, 8 different women in this category had top 5 positions. So away go the category 3 women on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We are in with Light at the moment as the riders come out of the start pens and on to the course proper. Pack all rolling as one across the wooden bridge as they come up to the junction ahead. So it's Alicia Antico who is leading this group out. Lopez is there, Lenore, Fioroni, Jose Zabala is also in this group, but it is indeed Antico just pushing on at the front of this pack at the moment. Light and Jose Zabala and Lenore going into the red there to show the fact that they are having to push that power down on those pedals to stay with Antico. Now Antico, one of our really aggressive riders in this category 3 race, time and time again she has gone on the attack. Now the group closing Antico down and just coming up onto the back of her wheel. Now what a faster start we have seen today from this category 3 pack, whereas category 4 rode away from the start line much steadier. So category 4 at 3.25 kilometres, whereas our category 3 race quickly coming up to a kilometre of race distance underway. And you can see the group of category 4 riders content to bunch across the road as they continue to move through. So the time they have set through that first segment on that left-hand side on your screen at the moment, so 1:54 from Agudelo in this group, indicating that she's the fastest rider currently through segment number 1. Of course, it is only our category 4 riders who have proceeded through that segment so far. So Tanningen on the front here, Agudelo, Madeira here too, Oliveri, Gonzalez, Jose Gallego, Ella Vink is in here as well. This group moving at a very steady pace. Back in the category 3 race, it's Antico pushing on hard here, just shifting gear. I can see there from the change in her cadence. She'd put that in a huge gear and stomped on those pedals to get that cadence up. 432 watts at the moment. This is one big attack coming from Antico. She's pulled back on the pace there, and I don't think this is going to stick because Ribaldo, Lopez and Higuita, along with Fioroni, are pulling it back in. This has been a really aggressive start to this category 3 race today, and it's Alessia Antico who has been lighting up the fire. So as the group come back together again, we're seeing Lopez go over the top here, and it's Lopez who's pushing on. Antico bringing it all back together again. Ribaldo is in there as well, and in fact, it's Ribaldo now who takes up the baton in this category 3 race, just not content at all to sit on their laurels. So this category 3 race really active so far, but all still together as everybody responding to the attacks that have been coming thick and fast from this group. So category 4 in a pack underway, just coming up for 4.5 kilometres. Category 3, 2.25 kilometres. Category 2, our next race start, currently in the pens, alongside our Category 1 yellow jersey riders. So Category 2 will indeed be our next race category to start. And it's going to be interesting to see how fast Category 2 go off the start line today. So Category 2 with a minute to go until the start banner drops, and we are in with Catherine Montoya, who is in that start pen and turning the legs over. So in this Category 2 race field today, we have 2 teams, so Paw Patrol and Strong Women. Strong Women is Angie Parrott who is representing them today, whereas it's Hadlock, Tan and Kokkonen representing Paw Control. Now, alongside the 4 members of those 2 teams are 21 riders on the start sheets today. And there are some really strong riders in here again. So Sinelli is here, Montoya, Berano Serna is in here, Jenny Sanchez, as well as Manuela Sanchez is in here. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens today and whether it is Jenny Sanchez or Angie Parra who puts in the attack first. Now, those two riders really aggressive normally in this Category 2 race field. So away go our Category 2 race field on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It is qualifier race number 1 in April as the pack turn out of the start pen and there's a push on the front of this group already, and it is indeed Angie Parra putting in a strong effort out of that start pen. So Parra's thinking the pack is big already. There's 21 riders in this race field today, and Parra has gone hard off the start line to stretch this group. She's stretching her legs and warming herself up. It's Manuela Sanchez and Lisa Hermason who are on the front of the pack behind. They are not panicking and they are not responding hard. They are all riding together and riding steady and comfy. There is 35 kilometers of race distance to go, and plenty of time, I think, to bring Parra back in. So Angie Parra now with a 9-second gap on this race pack. You know, she's pushed on hard at the front and the group have not panicked, they've not responded, and they've not tried to pull her back in. They are continuing and happy to continue to roll out the start pen at a comfy pace. Now, the start of this 35-kilometre course in Arabia is pretty flat for the first 5 kilometres, and being part and parcel of that pack allows you to make the benefit of the draft. Parra obviously out on her own, a lone rider here with nobody around to take that draft from, completely out and out in that wind, whereas these riders here are in with Karana at the moment. Her wattage numbers are in green, indicating that she is comfortably within that pack and comfortably within the draft, getting an easier ride. And you can just see on that top right hand corner graphic, you've got the green blob of the group here chasing, and the lone green jersey of Angie Parra out and further down the road. Now, talking about further down the road, this is our Category 4 group who are the leaders on the road at the moment, and it is Madeira who is leading this group, but it's Jose Gallego in there as well, and Ella Vink. 3 riders now just coming up 6.3 kilometers of this race under their wheels as they cross over the bridge and into the city. So 3 riders looking clear now, as it is indeed Gonzalez and Tanningen that now come up onto the wheels of those 3 riders and pull that group back together. So as Category 4 pull back together, we can see very clearly a split in this Category 3 race as well. Huguita and Light are the riders pulling this pack along by the waterfront. We've got a couple of riders off the back of this group just trying to scrabble to get back on here, as this is continuing to be a high power attack coming out from Light and Fioroni with Ribaldo and Antico here. Its Category 3 race pack have been adamant they want to keep this moving today. So at the back of this Category 3 race field tries hard to close down the gaps and to bring this group all back together again. It is Golden Light indeed who is on the front here, continuing to move. Lopez has just gone over the top with Huguita in 3, Barco in 4, Fioroni in 5, Agudelo and Antico all in there as well. So this race pack is a little more stretched across the road than our other categories, just on a downhill section at the moment, and it's keeping the pace high. So currently, whilst our Category 1 riders sit in the start pen, our Category 2 riders are in a pack at 2.2 kilometres, Category 3 5.5, Category 4 7.2 coming up. So 3 races underway, and we await the start of our Category 1 riders. So our Category 1 race field today, just shy of a minute now before the start. In those yellow jerseys, we have 2 teams here. So Crank Sisters, represented by Jojo Bauer, and Beast Mode, powered by Rose, represented by Kimberly Miller. Alongside those two riders, 42 other riders in this Category 1 race field today. And it's great to see Chiara Donny joining us again. But alongside her, BR Headman Shandy Brogan. We also have in here other riders. Fua is in here as well as BR Head too. So some strong riders in this Category 1 race field. And the banner goes down on the Category 1 race today on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It is April and it is qualifier race number 1. And these Category 1 women are now underway. So as Ortiz pushes on with the rest of these Category 1 women off of the start line here, Jojo Bauer is up at the front, Catherine Fua is here, Karuk Quevedo is there too, and we're seeing a stretch on this field today on the start across the bridge here. So as the group comes out of the start pen, the group is stretching and pulling away. Now, just a reminder to our viewers that all our new riders are placed in category number 1 until the verification process has taken place, so that we know which category riders should be riding in. Now, that also means that riders move categories, so after a number of weeks when the data has been verified, riders will move from category 1 to, for example, category 2 or category 3, depending upon where they are best placed. So Julia Walkenhorst this week moving from category 1 to category 2. We also have Carla Lenore moving to category 3 from category 1, and that's because all of our riders, regardless of ability, start racing the Sunday Race Club in category 1 until the data and analytics are complete over a number of weeks to allocate the rider to the appropriate category. So we do see the movement out of category 1. That would be why category 1 is often our largest race field. Now, what we also see are riders moving up categories, and that is because they are getting stronger and stronger, and as they progress and their racing progresses, they move from, say for example, category 3 into category number 2 because their performances dictate that movement. So that is one part and parcel of the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. All rules and regulations around verification and performance can be found on the MyWhoosh website. You can head over to the events page where you will find the technical guide, you will find the rules and regulations, and you'll also find the frequently asked questions page. Places to head to if you want to take a look at those rules, but also if you are thinking about joining us on the start line, and it would be great to see you if you were. So we are in with Chiara Donny. Donny, one of our regular riders, taking a break from the Sunday Race Club, but it's great to see her back, and she's back at the front of this pack of the Category 1 race field. She's joined on her wheel by Bauer and Fua, those two riders in here at the moment. It's good to see these women joined by new riders to us. Daniela Tobin joining us this week. Welcome, it's great to see you in the pack, and it's great to see we've got Gabriela Guerrera in here as well, and Pilar Pina as well. So fabulous to see new riders joining the Sunday Race Club. Now this Category 1 race field now coming up to the start of the first segment today. Now these segments, so 7 segments today on today's course, they are discrete timed segments that will allow us to see the nature of the racing as it is underway today. So the first segment, 1 kilometre in distance between kilometre number 2 and kilometre number 3. So currently the fastest rider through that segment is Alicia Antico, the rider who put that early attack into the Category 2 race field at 1 minute 41. We're about to see what this Category 1 pack do going through that segment. And whilst they are going through that segment much further down the race field, coming up for 10 kilometres distance travelled, is the leader in Category number 4, and it's Ella Vink who has put an attack in here. It's Jose Gallego and Gonzalez that are following, And in fact, it's Gonzalez that is kicking onto the back of Vink's wheel. So attacks underway in that Category 4 race. So as we see attacks in that Category 4 race, we're seeing a large pack rolling together in the early stages of this Category 1 race today. So all the riders we would expect to see in here, Ortez is in here, Marin is in here, Degerman Shandy is in here, Embring, Ruiz, Del Rocchio, Guerrera, Estrada, all in this group coming underneath the blue banner, signifying the end of segment number 1. So as our Category 1 riders come through that segment, it is really interesting to see that it is not our Category 1 riders who are the fastest through that segment today. So fastest rider through, Alessia Antico in 1:41, then it is our Category 3 pack, so it's Light, Agudelo, Reyes, Higuita, Lopez, Barco, Fioroni coming through a few seconds slower, and then it is our Category 1 pack coming through 2.7 seconds slower than Antico to come through that segment number 1 and round out that top 12. Now, what those results are telling me is that this Category 3 race field have been constantly attacking each other and hence pulling the pace high. And in fact, it's not long till Antico is going to see the back of that Category 4 race field just 30 seconds down the road. So Antico has gone early in this Category 3 race field and she has continued to attack for the first 10 kilometers. Fioroni and Higuita are the two riders able to go with her. Then there's a gap back of 7 seconds now to Ribaudo, who is the rider in 4th place. Now, Antico, Fioroni and Higuita were the 1, 2, 3 in the women's final in March. Now there's a caveat there because those results are not yet verified, but these are the riders on form. So Antico here with Higuita and Fioroni, 3 riders clear of the Category 3 race field. Ribaudo 5 seconds back as the riders come into the tunnels here. They are about to see the back of the Category 4 race field. So the back of the Category 4 race field now being caught by the front of the Category 3 race field, as Antico and Fioroni go past our first rider in that Category 4 race. Now, our Category 4 riders still leading the race at the moment on the road, and some way down the parcours. However, Antico and Fioroni now 2 riders with Higuita a little bit further back. So these 2 riders now clear of this Category 3 race field. You can see a little bit further down the road, and in fact about 450 metres further down the road is the front of the Category 4 race field. Now this is Gonzalez, Vink, Jose Gallego and Tandingen, just being joined as well by Agudelo. So 5 riders clear at the front of the Category 4 race. Now, these Category 4 riders are looking to as though they are having a steady ride. Now, talking about the Category 4 pack having a steady ride whilst the chasing Category 3 pack are fast and furious, this is looking like a fairly steady start as well from our Category 1 race field. Now, this pack whittled down a little, but still a large group on the road here. I am on a quick count thinking there's about 18 riders in this pack at the moment, but we will be able to see those numbers and confirm those shortly, particularly when they go through the next segment and we can take a look at the number of riders in this pack. But as you can see, more riders joining the group from the back, so constantly fluid as the stretch and regrouping takes place. So Bauer comfortably in here, and we are watching Jojo Bauer at the moment. Her heart rate sat at 144, and it's been dropping recently. So a steady pace at the moment from these women, currently sat at under 3 watts per kilo. So for our category 1 riders, this is indeed a steady pace at the moment for this leading group. Bauer's heart rate dropping even further, now down to 140, indicating this steady pace is indeed just that. So Bauer and the race group of the leaders for the category 1 race all now crossing the bridge and through the marina, as we can see in front of us the blue banner indicating the finish of segment number 2. Now segment number 2 is also a 1 kilometer segment. Currently fastest through is indeed Ribaldo at 1:34. Again from that category 3 race, that would indeed be the race at the moment that we have been seeing lighting up the road. So indeed that is what happens here, and it is the category 3 riders, the riders that are constantly attacking each other early in this race at the moment, who have set the fastest time through. So Ribaldo is the rider at 1:34 through this 1 kilometer segment. Fioroni and Hugita and Antico, the leaders in that race, not the chaser. The chaser was there, Ribaldo, the next 3 times. Now, the rest of that category 3 field is indeed in there, and then it is 5 seconds back to the category 1 race field. So Pina in there, Fua, Dalise and Guerra, all riders at the front of that pack, but it's a big pack, and it is one that is continuing to tap along. Now continuing to tap along is Alicia Antico, and we said there was 450 meters separating her from the front of the category 4 race field. She has now made that catch and has now gone past the leaders of category 4 on the road. In fact, there is Antico. The other rider in blue at the front of that group is Fioroni. Fioroni is second in that category at the moment. So Antico and Fioroni, 1 and 2 in the category 3 race, now past the front of the category 4 race on the road. So we've just watched the category 3 race leaders come alongside and go past our category 4 race leaders. Back in the category 2 race, Reynard and Jenny Sanchez have put an attack in here. Now, Jenny Sanchez was really aggressive at the early stages of our final last week. It didn't stick, and Jenny Sanchez did not make the podium, but she did push on early in the race and try and make some of the action. Now, Jenny Sanchez and Reynard are the 2 riders pushing on here. They're currently 4 seconds clear of the chase group behind, but you can see that chase group behind has been split, and that top right-hand graphic really indicates that. In fact, the main bunch of category 4 riders are category 2 riders, sorry, are chasing the 4 riders who are down the road. So we've got these 2, Sanchez and Reynard. Then we've got Carana and Agudelo, the 2 riders in the middle, and then we have the pack coming. And that is being pushed on and led by Manuela Sanchez, the rider who took the win last week, with Agudelo there and Montoya. So it's looking like our category 2 race field should come back together again, but they are about to hit the climb, and this climb coming at around 10 kilometers. It's not a classified climb on the course, but it is pretty much the only climb other than the main climb, which is a category 1 climb at the end of this course today for these women. So 5 riders now forming the leading bunch in this category 2 race. Reynard, Sanchez in here with Agudelo, Carana, and I think we have both of the Sanchez's in here actually. We have Manuela and we have Jenny Sanchez, and it is in fact Olsen who is leading the chase of the group behind, 10 seconds behind. So as the front of this Category 2 race field continue to push on, it is Sanchez and Sanchez here with Reynard, the three riders who go into the tunnels in the lead. Just a few seconds back, you can just see on that shot the rest of the Category 2 riders now all spread out and behind. And in fact, Angie Parrott is one of the chasing riders. She was the rider, don't forget, who pushed hard off the start line and started to ignite this race. Others have now taken over, and this Category 2 race is spread all over the road. The Category 1 race is spread out a little, but nothing like our Category 2 race. So coming up for 9 kilometres now of distance in this race and 15 minutes of racing under their wheels. We can see this pack just pushing on here underneath what is the finish of the next segment. That is segment number 3, and that will give us an indication of who is the fastest through here. But yet again, it's not our Category 1 riders. It is indeed Antico in here with Higuita, Lopez, Fioroni, Ribaldo, Agudelo, Reyes, Barco. These riders going through pretty much, actually not much quicker than the Category 1 race field. Just looking like we've got a couple of seconds in this, but that Category 3 field, that aggressive racing really indicating what is happening here today. Catherine Fua is the rider leading through that Category 1 race pack, coming in 8th place with the 8th quickest time through that segment today. So just scrolling back through that segment to try and give us an indication of how many riders we have in this leading Category 1 group, and I am doing a quick calculation, and I'm thinking there's around 18, 19 riders in this front pack at the moment. Indeed. So who do we have in here? Ruiz is in here, Tobon is in here, Manshandi is in here, Del Rocco, Donny, Fua, Embring, Montoya is in here. Some really good, strong riders, and I think we're going to see a lot of the action today when we come to that final 10-kilometre climb. But we've got to get to that final 10-kilometre climb, and this next climb is what is really in their way. So our Category 1 riders will face a Category 1 climb at the end of today's course. They are currently coming into the rolling section of the course as they continue to tap on those pedals. Further down the road, in fact 7 kilometres down the road, is our leaders on the road. This is our Category 3 leaders. It is Fioroni and Antico with Lopez in 3. Just playing around with the front of the Category 4 race field because Ella Vink is in there with Jose Gallego as well. Those are the riders down the road. So 7 kilometres separating the front of the race on the road and our Category 1 race pack. So as our Category 1 race field comes into the tunnels, there are around 18 riders in this leading group. So we started with 44 riders on the start sheets today, remembering the mix we have in the Category 1 field, and we have a lead group of around 18 riders now. We are coming up for 10.5 or just over 10.5 kilometres of the race under the wheels, and a little bit further, but around 2 kilometres, just under 2 kilometres down the road under the sea, we can see the Category 2 race field. And indeed, the leaders of the Category 2 race field. This is a stretched group. We've got 3 riders out front. It looks like we've got 4 chasing riders, and then we've got riders back in the distance. So Reynard in 1, Manuela Sanchez in 2, Jenny Sanchez in 3, Angie Parra is in there as well with Morgane Olsen and Reynard. And then we've got a little bit of a gap back, just a couple of seconds, Corona is in there and Santiago is in there too. So this race field in category 2 has been all over the road today with multiple attacks, multiple pullbacks, and constant attacks coming from different riders. Settling down a little bit now that we've got nearly 13 kilometers under the wheels and regrouping here, it looks like, as we are coming up to the start of segment number 4 for these riders as they cross over the bridge and into the next tunnel. So these riders now dropping down the other side of the hill. This is the small climb on this course in Arabia today before these women get to the category 1 climb that is the last 10 kilometers of this course. And as they roll down the hill, this leading 2 groups all coming back together again. In fact, I think we are going to see these riders out here. So Maria Santiago, I think, is also going to get onto the group here, as well as Manuela Sanchez. So this group all coming together on this descent, and it's going to be interesting to see whether they all remain together or whether the next small climb stretches this group out again. So as we watch our category 2 riders constantly changing places with a different rider on the front is Jenny Sanchez at the moment, who's doing the work. Olsen has just snowballed over the top, and Angie Parra is in here too. Now, Parra was the first rider to go hard out of the gun, but these riders are sat up now. They are sat up much more on this descent here and taking a breath before they put in what I imagine is going to be more attacks, because this has been a really aggressive race for these category 2 riders. So coming out of the tunnels now, still on this descent, but the flatlands await for a short period of time for these women before they get to the next steep section of this course. So we can see on your screens at the moment our category 1 race field coming up to 12 kilometers travelled. Our category 2 race field 2.8 kilometers further down the road. Our category 3 race field at 18.6. They are the leaders on the road at the moment, because our category 4 race field at 18.2 kilometers. So our category 4 race field, the leaders 500 meters behind the leaders now in that category 3 race field. And we can see there we are looking at around 6.5 kilometers separating the leaders on the road, Fioroni and Antico, from category 3 to the leaders in our category 1 race field. So the leaders on the road, it's Antico and Fioroni in that category 3 race field on that kick out of the desert. So they are pushing on that small climb at the moment. Our category 1 race field in the tunnels under the sea, and shortly about to catch the back of our category 2 race field. And that indeed is Tanglian. Rona Tanglian is the rider who is about to be picked up there. Our first category 2 rider that this category 1 bunch will see. So the category 1 race field tap past Tanglian, and she sits on the back of that group as they go past and they disappear off into the distance. Now, this category 1 race field, it's looking like it's a comfortable group here, pushing along and tapping along. So we're currently in with Anna Embring. Heart rate's 140 beats per minute at the moment, telling me that this is a steady pace for that category 1 race field. I think that group are going to probably go into final climb today, and that's where we will see most of the action, whether they go in with 18 riders or 1 or 2 more riders drop off the back in between now and then. We will have to wait to see. Coming up 16.5 kilometers at the of this race done now for the leaders in the Category 2 race field. So it is Jenny Sanchez, Morgan Olsen, Guizi Carrera, Angie Parrott, and Elodie Reynard who are in the front of this Category 2 race field. They are pushing on and pushing on well now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders now clear. And indeed it is Manuela Sanchez who is the rider who has been dropped from that group. Now, I don't think she's dropped too far behind. I think she's actually only 2 or 3 seconds. In fact, actually it's 5 seconds now. I can see that clearly on our screen. So Manuela Sanchez is in with Maria Santiago. These 2 riders are the 2 chase riders in this Category 2 race field. So 4 riders out front, 2 chase riders, and in fact I think these 2 chasers are bringing back that lead group, because that lead group has got Giuliano and Jose Zabala from Category 3 with them indeed. So the front of the Category 2 race field about to be joined and swell in numbers. So 2 riders joining this group now to make a larger group of 6 riders now leading the Category 2 race field. So as we are watching the riders come together in this Category 2 race field, I am joined in the studio by Matt Payne, hot-footing it from the other studio and the finish of the men's race today.
Yeah, my feet are burning. I sprinted my way across. Great racing on the men's race, where we have seen an absolutely action-packed race. If you've been here and watching, then do please make sure that after the end of this race, maybe when you're going to sit down and have a little reflect or watch the men's race. Absolute crack, some really interesting racing that I think is going to set us up well as we're running towards the end of the finals, at the end of the Sunday Race Club for April and into the championships. Emma, bring me up to speed. I've not been able to simultaneously watch 2 races. That's a skill way beyond my multitasking levels. I know they're good, but they're not that good. It's certainly looking like you've got an interestingly big group of Category 1 riders with a bit of a gap to close.
Well, it's been a really interesting race so far, Matt. Our Category 4 riders who set off first today set off quite a steady pace, actually. So our Category 4 riders were all together. Our Category 3, who were the second riders off of the start pens today, it was opposites completely. It was attacking from the gun. And in fact, we are just over half race distance. We are 20 kilometres, and you can see already the lead of our Category 3 race field, which is Antico and Fioroni there, currently coming up for 22 kilometres, whereas the lead of our Category 4, 20.7. So 1.3 kilometres further down the road now, our Category 3 race leaders. Our Category 2 pack have been fast and furious as well, with a number of attacks coming out. We've now got a much smaller lead group, but it is a lead group of around 6 riders. Our Category 1 pack are 2.4 kilometres behind our Category 2 pack. The pack has whittled down to around 18 riders, but it has been a steady ride. Take a look at Anna Emring's heart rate, Matt, 124 at the moment. So it really is a much steadier ride for that lead group. They are now going through segment number 4. And this is the first time today it is our Category 1 race field who have set the fastest time through one of the segments. And this is a 3 kilometre segment. So from 13 kilometres to 16 kilometres, it is indeed Marin, Ortiz, Tobin, Embring, Estrada, Guerrera, Rendon, Del Rocchio, Brogan, Giraldo, Ramirez and Carvajal who come through in the top 12. And that is the first time today we have seen Category 1 come through in front of the other categories.
Well, really interesting, and it is a big group of Category 1 riders, isn't it, going through pretty much at the same time. I think about 19 riders I make that in that group as they come in and through. So really interesting to see such a big pack and some very familiar names actually from the men's race in that group as well, because I noticed we've got Gabriela Guerra in there. Nathan, well, I'm not going to tell Gabriela if she's watching what Nathan got up to. They're probably in the same room, to be honest. So really interesting to see how she's getting on. And right in that mix, but also seen Carvajal in the mix as well. But some really, really regular names up at the front of this pack at the moment. And it looks reasonably controlled. Just starting to see a little bit of a push, I think, now in Category 1, just starting to see a little bit of a squeeze on the front again as we go into this climb. And this climb out from that dip. So you come through town, down the dip and start climbing out. Very, very tough. But Catherine Fur, a rider that we know has got a great pedigree.
Well, absolutely, and Fur riding really, really strongly at the World Esports Championships this year and having a phenomenal race there. But so did a number of the other riders in this pack as well, Matt. So great to see her. One of the other riders it's great to see back on the start line is Chiara Donny joining us as well today, and she's in this pack too. So some absolute class in here today. Now, Brogan is in here, Emmering is in here, Fur, as we've mentioned, so is Estrada and Quevedo. So these riders continuing to move well through this course. And you're right, Matt, the gradient at the moment is 6%. So just coming up on this climb, and not a categorized climb, but it is one of the two other climbs than our main climb at the end, but not worthy of discussion on our route map because that final climb today is 10.43 kilometers in length with an average gradient of 6.5% with some steeper sections on it. So it is absolutely, I think, going to make the play today on that final climb.
Well, I would be looking to try and break it up, I think, if I was one of the other riders here, and put some pressure on the established favourites here, because this section here, so we basically came through the tunnels, we dropped out of the tunnels, we dropped down, we come through past the roundabout, drop down into the dip, we now come up the climb, and this climb up here, sort of the second sort of fairly serious climb, this for me really, really, really does make it for me. This is where I would be looking to push the pressure on, really start to take the attack to the rest of the riders coming through. And that section over the tunnel, I mean, it's a longer climb than this into the tunnel. And then you've got the descent. Then this is steep enough to break up. But we come up here, then we get to the crossroads at the top. And then we've still got distance, haven't we, to that final climb. And I think these riders are going to have to say something. You can't put everything out now and then expect to be flying at the finish. Let's take a look at the course profile, and I can show you exactly what I mean. So if you see the first green rider on the left-hand side at 5K, there's a long, draggy climb after that. That's up in through the tunnels. You go over the top, it breaks quite quickly. Then you go into the dip, into the lowest point of the course, directly above the G of segments there on your screens. And then we're just doing this climb up towards the second of those green riders. We then have a relatively flat section. And for me, this little bit of the section here on the climb into awards 17, 18K really does put the pressure on. If you can accelerate and really squeeze on the first long drag, then on this steep, steppy climb, you can then start to maybe take some of the sting out the climber's legs, who are pure climbers who are going to just time trial their way up that big, long climb at the finish. And for me, one of the key things about the finishing climb is that we have a really fast finish because we've got the rise, the dip, and the rise at the end of it. So it's not just about being able to climb, it's about being able to ride on MyWhoosh and the courses. So really interesting profile for the riders today.
Well, you're quite right, Matt, because that finish section with the climb, the dip, and then the climb is absolutely all about technique and timing. And it's the person who gets their technique and timing right, if 2 or 3 riders go into that section together, that will be our winner today. Now we are in with Guerrera, and it is Guerrera who is chasing Rendon. Rendon's gone down the road, and Guerrera is doing the chasing. Quevedo and Manshandi are the riders behind with Quevedo and Fur. This pack is now starting to get lit up a little bit as we are moving on.
Really interesting to see Rondon at the front with Guerra chasing behind, the 2 riders pushing here, and a very strong rise. Meanwhile, this pack still looking controlled, just looking at those heart rates and the pedal cadence as well, just to see who's moving smoothly. Certain riders are able to rev, aren't they? They can flex, they can move, they can really get that pedal cadence. Having that flexibility means you can respond to attacks really quickly and the terrain. Whereas if you're more of a time trial, triathlon type rider, and you tend to push a slower cadence, put it in a big gear and churn it round. It's much harder to respond actually to changes of pace.
Yeah, it is indeed. But the different riding styles, Matt, and different techniques can produce different results on the MyWhoosh platform. We've seen riders take on a time trial type action and a time trial type approach to the race and ride their own race in that way and actually do really well, ignoring the action that is going on around them. So different tactics and different techniques work for different people. I think the key thing is to know when to use the package of skills that you have available to you.
Well, one rider who really knows how to do that, and really interesting to see that she is very strong today, Alicia Antico, up at the front of the race. The leading rider on the right-hand side of your screens is on that final climb now, and not only on the final climb, still riding 90 revs per minute here, so still spinning the gear around here, and a rider that we know that can climb. But when you look at the distance, 25.9k under her wheels. We're at 35k for the finish. Still plenty of distance to go to get in to the end of the climb. So great to see Antico riding strongly. Fioroni in there, and interesting to see it's Lopez, Golden Light, Higuita behind who are chasing. But Fioroni is a very, very strong rider in her own right.
Yeah, no, indeed it is. We've talked about this already, but you won't have been. We've talked about this, but you weren't here.
I wasn't.
Antico, Fioroni and Higuita are the riders on form at the moment in this Category 3 race, and that has very much been evident in the last couple of weeks racing. But we've also got Lopez and Golden Light in here as well, and I'll tell you something, Ella Vink is leading that Category 4 race at the moment, and what's interesting is the distance that they have managed to put on the leaders of that Category 4 race and the other riders in that Category 3 race. Now over 2 minutes between Antico and Fioroni and the riders further back on the road. So look, take a look at that. You've now got that on the left-hand side of the screen. Is Antico and Fioroni, the two riders leading on the road at the moment and leading in that Category 3 race. On the right-hand side of your screen, you have got the chasers. This is Light and Lopez with Ribaudo and Higuita in with Vink and Gonzalez here, and Gallego, who are the 1, 2, 3 currently. In fact, I think we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4 in there on the Category 4 race as well. So Category 3 and Category 4 now on that final climb of the day.
So riders all over the place. 3 and 4 categories really have got competitive, haven't they, in that in the women's race field. Category 2 and 1 always have been. 2 is traditionally the real aggressive. It's kind of that it's not your elite, so they're not quite maybe as cynical as experienced. They really have. Oh, come on, you know what elite riders like? They're killer. They'll make the move when it counts, and generally it's very rare that you see an elite top flight rider put in a move that's unnecessary. Whereas in Category 2, they're full of beans, they all want to really take it on, and I really love that. And I love that aggression and that more, that almost joie de vivre sort of feeling in the race in Category 2 that you don't necessarily get as much in Category 1, which tends to be more clinical in there. But having said that, Categories 3 and 4 are absolutely brilliant to watch, and really love watching the racing and people learning and developing. And that's, for me, one of the big things here. And you can see that all the way through as riders move up from Categories 3, 4, etc., upwards and through and into Category 1. But, of course, all our new riders, well, they start in Category 1. Who cover our screens on the segment.
They do indeed. So this is segment number 5, and again we see it's our Category 1 race field who are moving through this 3.5 kilometre segment. The fastest: Guerrero, Rendon, Cavajal, Brogan, Manchandi, Embring, Marin, Fua, Bauer, Ruiz, Tobin and Giraldo, top 12 riders. But there is some distance separating them. Guerrero and Rendon are the two riders who pushed on through this segment in this category. Get my words in the right order, and it is a 7-second gap they have put in.
Well, really interesting. That gap has opened, hasn't it, as you come up through here, and the riders now popping out of the top of that depression, that descent, and then a rise, and now on the terrain that takes them in towards the climb, but still climbing. They're not quite over the last of the bumps, and this continued rise and fall and the change and the movement here means that these riders can get out of sight as well.
Yeah, they can do indeed, particularly with these sweeping bends. You know what they say, out of sight, out of mind, Matt. And if these riders are out of mind of the chase pack, which is being led by Fur at the moment, so I don't think they are out of Fur's mind at the moment. She's pulling on at the front of that group at the minute. They're 15 seconds down. Guerrero and Rendon are the two riders clear at the moment, and they are 1-2 at the front of this Category 1 race pack at the moment, tapping away on those pedals. They have Hadlock, a Category 2 rider in no man's land between them and the chase group. And in fact, taking a look here, Fur is really pushing on. She really wants to close that gap down to these two riders. She doesn't want to go into the base of that 10-kilometre final climb with this gap at the moment. She wants this group to come back together again.
So let's see what happens. We've got Fur on the right-hand side there, just trying to get the pressure applied and trying to get the group to come across. I don't think she wants to solo across. It's not that kind of pace. It's not that kind of acceleration. She doesn't want the gap to go out. And quite rightly, there's a limit, isn't there? Letting riders go off the front, wear themselves out, take the win, take the pace, put in maybe a little bit more because they're in the gap. They're putting on that pressure. That is taking effort, and eventually that can take its toll. Particularly interesting, though, that the riders that we've got on the front in Rondon and Guerra are two riders who have not necessarily been right up at the front or indeed riding on the platform.
Yeah.
So it could be that the experience of riding regularly on MyWhoosh and knowing what the climb is going to feel like at the end is going to pay off. But it's a gamble, and there's a limit to how much you want to gamble. 15 seconds is a gamblable distance or time.
Well, Matt,
30 seconds, that isn't.
They may well not have been on the Sunday Race Club, but they may well have been riding the platform regularly, Matt, and they may well have recce'd the routes, because that is indeed what I would have done. But we will see how it plays out at the end. And with a 10-kilometre climb at the end, we know, you can easily put 2 minutes into someone on a climb of that distance. But Rendon and Guerrero are the two out front at the moment. It's now an 18-second gap back to the chasing group. We are now picking up the back of the Category 4 race field here, and it won't be long until the back of the Category 3 race field are coming up to these riders. So the front of our Category 1 race field, it's Guerrero and Rendon in 1 and 2 with an 18-second gap back to the chasing riders. It's still a large group of around 15 riders doing the chasing in Category 1, and the riders are now coming up onto the back of the other race fields as they head in to the final climb of the day, which starts at 25.3 kilometres. It is over 10 kilometres in distance with an average gradient of 6.5%, but there are some very steep segments on it at the moment. And as we can see right now, our Category 2 riders, the gradient at 10.2%. So kicking under the wheels of these riders as we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 riders at the front of this Category 2 race field at the moment.
Interested in those names: Reynard, Sanchez, Olsen, Carana, Para. I mean, we have a who's who of MyWhoosh Category 2 riders right up in this leading group. We know that Sanchez and Sanchez, Jenny and Manuela are both capable of taking the win, but we know so. Olsen, again, another proven rider. Elodie Reynard. I mean, we talk about experienced riders on the platform. Elodie riding this platform week in, week out, and really knows the climb. What really is interesting to me is that you've got riders like Lisa Hermansen further down the course and with ground to make up, and it's going to have to do a big old job to close that gap down. At the moment, they are minutes down, and that is a huge ask, even on a climb of 10k. 2 minutes, maybe 3-4 minutes is definitely going to be a massive ask. I think the win in the top 5 are going to come out here, and for me, almost with 6 riders, it's about who's not going to be in the prize money as it is who's going to be in the prize money. 5 prizes, 6 riders, never a good combination.
I think it's going to be really interesting, Matt, because these 5 riders have been attacking from the gun. They have been riding hard with big power attacks coming fast and often early on in this race today. The riders further back didn't play the game so much. They've had an easier start to this ride, and we've said this is a 10-kilometre climb. Now, these riders here, so Olsen, Sanchez are sitting at around 3.5 watts per kilo on this climb at the moment. They are tapping the climb at a pace which is steady. Well, I say it's steady. It's a high heart rate pace. But
I'd be quite happy to tap out that pace is steady, believe me.
But earlier on in the race today, they have been kicking out powers of 4.5 and constant attack, constant attack, constant attack. The question is, whose legs are going to make it to the top of the climb first in that Category 2 race? The riders who did the constant attacking, or the riders who are now doing the chasing?
Well, I think not long to find out as we see Guerra going on to the climb. So all the leading riders in each of our categories all onto the climb here, Emma. And we are seeing Guerra. Can she time trial the way to the top? A very experienced rider. Got to say that. Absolutely class act on the bike. Able to squeeze on here and now has to get the pacing right with Rondon. And not only that, got to also make sure that she goes in, she'll want the win. You know, you don't come into this and go, oh, do you know what? Sure, I'll just ride for a second. No way. Once you're in that group of two, you want to be right in there. Looking on the right-hand side of your screen, this is a big pack. They are still sat together. They're three wide. They're having a chat on the way up here just about. This is not aggressive yet. It can't be long before we see an attack, before we see a push on, because this is when it's going to count. They need to go early enough to put some distance in.
Well, we're about to see the gradient really start to kick. It's now winding its way up to over 10%. But you're right, Matt, this is still a very large group. They've still got 10 kilometres to go in this race today, and it's 10 kilometres all up in this Category 1 climb now. And we're about to see, I think, a bit of a stretch on this group, which will see riders start to drop off the back. They are also about to come on to, as you can see on that right-hand top corner graphic, they are about to come on to other riders in different categories. So it will give riders the opportunity to chase and have someone to chase, and it will give riders the opportunity for a little bit of confusion and digs to attack as we start to see the power go down a little bit from this group.
And we're starting to see riders come off the back as that power goes down. So riders starting to drop off the back of that group. I think we're now sub 15 riders on the front of the pack there. We've lost at least 2, if not 3 riders off the back. Interesting that we've still got Del Rocchio in this group continuing to push on, but we've not seen the big guns come out to play here in terms of riders like Brogan, Bauer, Cavado, who we know could be right up in the mix at the end. Shandy, the same. You know, they really are the riders who we would expect to figure. But are they just waiting for the right moment? They know they can do 6K, 5K, 4.5K, whatever it is. They know when they want to go, and they are waiting for that point. Whereas the tactic for the two in front on the left-hand side of your screen is sit at a pace that you can hold to the top and keep going, because you don't want to look back. You don't want to think about what's coming behind you. You just need to stay focused on going forwards.
Well, I'll tell you something, the 2 riders out front in this Category 1 race are holding that gap at the moment, if not slightly stretching it out. You know, it's gone from 180 metres to 200 metres now, and I think that's because the group behind them, the chase group behind them, still 14, I'll go and say it again, 14 riders in that chase group. Ouch. And I think they're looking at each other, Matt, and seeing who's going to go first. And we talk about who's going to go first, and it is indeed Gemma Brogan who is coming to the front of that pack with Karuk Cavado, and those are the riders we would expect to see start to work on this climb, as Rendon and Guerrera are the riders pushing on, the 2 riders away from this pack of Category 1 riders. But Del Rocchio and Brogan are now the ones coming to the fore as we start to see more riders drop off the back of this group.
Well, at the moment, the time through 5 minutes 40 for Rondon and Guerra. What's the time going to be as it comes through the segment for the chasers behind here in this group? Let's take a look at the board. Here we go. Have they stayed in front? They have, so they're still setting the fastest time. So on segment number 6, segment 6, 2.5K from 24 to 26.5. So the initial part of the climb, the riders who have set the fastest time are your 2 breakaway riders, Rondon and Guerra. Behind, that is the chasing group. And that chase at the moment, it is not bearing fruit at the moment. They are not making ground. If anything, on that segment, they lost ground. Not a lot, but they still lost it.
Well, they might have lost ground, Matt, but it was like 1 or 2 seconds, and I don't think that's going to be race winning 1 or 2 seconds. There's still about a 30-second gap, though, between the 2 leaders in this Category 1 race field with this chase group, and it's going to be so interesting to see what happens as we continue to snake our way up this climb.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens as we get towards the top. We're starting to see reactions here. Del Rocchio just drifting to the back, picks up the pace, kicks on. Daniela Marin doing the same as well. Looks like Tobin doing the same. Carvajal, all the riders at the back here not wanting to lose ground, but not necessarily making the running. Really interesting to see how they respond and how they move. They are picking up riders in categories 2 who are in front, and it's really interesting that the category 2 riders still jumping in. You can see how much height we've gained. If you look down behind our riders, this fantastic view down off the mountain here, down towards sea level, where our riders have been racing for the majority of the race, now coming up on to the big climb and really gaining height fast. This really is telling, though, for me, that Rondon and Guerra at the moment, they're still holding a similar gap. Yes, it yo-yos up and down. That is what's going to happen as the riders perform differently on different sections of the course. But as we come up here, we're coming in, we've got a left-hand turn coming. We then do a tight right and an even tighter left. And this is a really interesting part of the course for me, because the changes in gradient will start to take the toll if you are a time trial type rider, if you're not using your gears, not working your way through, keeping those revs. If you are able to respond, though, if you're a very quick, responsive rider with the high revs, and you're on your day, you can make up a lot of ground in this next segment here, because this is really tight.
Yeah, well, it is indeed really tight, and these corners continue to mean that the chase pack cannot see these riders. But you know what, Matt? It's looking like the gap is around 12, 13 seconds at the moment, and it's Quevedo leading the charge. But as we can see up the road ahead, the road that these riders can see is clear, because the two riders ahead are already around the bend before this chasing pack come into it. But they are not too far down the road now, you know, Matt. Our climbers are coming to the fore from this pack, and they waited and they waited. They did not let the two lead riders go out too far, and Quevedo is in here. But this group, we've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's still more than 10 riders in this chase group.
There is some big names that have dropped out of this group. Chiara Donny and Catherine Fua are riders who I think now are the riders that we've lost off this group. Two really big names, good climbers, good time trial. I mean, you know, absolute pedigree, but just a climb too far. We're now in with Quevedo as they chase, and they can start to see the riders in front of them. Now this gap is starting to come down, and we still to see some of the big favourites take on the front. But look at this, it is really starting to invigorate the riders on the front here of the chasing group. They know the riders are up there, and they are going to try and get that gap back. They can see them just going around the corner at the moment, and it's a bit like Jaws at the moment. You know, this they're coming, and they're coming for them. We are going to see who is going to make the most of this. Things are going to get very tight at the top here. And of course, just because you got caught when you're out in front doesn't mean that you've given up. It just means that you've got a lot more company around you, and you can still continue to go through and then ride clear again. So really interesting moment in the race here in category 1 as they come back towards each other. I'm not going to say they're back together yet, because
they're not.
It ain't over yet.
Well, there's still 7 kilometres to go, Matt, in this race, so it definitely is not over yet as these riders start to tow back in. The two lead riders in the Category 1 race field at 30 kilometres down the road. Fioroni is the rider who is the lead rider on the road at the moment. She is leading the Category 3 race. Alessia Antico is the rider in 2. She is hot on the wheels of Fioroni, and not far behind. There are seconds separating Fioroni and Antico, but a lot further back is Lopez, Rabado, Higuita and Light, who are the riders who are chasing hard in that category. We've also got a fight on for the lead in Category 4 at the moment. Ella Vink has been a long time leader in that race, but Agudelo at the moment is the one leading Category 4.
Yeah, real interesting fight here. We're in with Agudelo, who now has the gap on Gonzalez, Tandigan, Galega and Vink. And Vink, a long-time leader, really has gone backwards on this climb. But the climb itself, it is a huge monumental climb at the end of today's racing, and it is definitely shaking things up now. This is the decisive moments, I think, in terms of this breakaway's lifespan, because as we come around these corners, you can see that Rondon and the Carrera are just in front of Ortiz. Ortiz leading the chase, but now Brogan coming up very quickly indeed. Brogan has made at the front of the race here, and starting to push on her heels is Cavado, and Degerman Shandy also trying to move up here as well. This is really quick as they come up here. They are trying to absolutely annihilate the gap. It is not quite done yet, but this is going to be game over, and it's now a reset moment where they have to now think of their tactics once again. So here we go. Let's see what's going to happen as we go on from here.
Yeah, and looking at what is going to happen as we go on from here, the gradient has just kicked over 11% and is dramatically dropping back to 7 at the moment. So constant gradient change at the moment for our Category 1 race field. You know, they are not far now to the front of the Category 2 race field. It is looking like it's about 500 meters up the road, and there's still a race on there, you know.
There is a race on, and great to see Category 2 here. Manuela Sanchez, Elodie Reynard, Morgan Olsen in here. They've got a little bit of a gap. Carana and Jenny Sanchez is really the one who's lost out. So you can see Carana just out of the saddle, sprinting there to get on. She's rider number 4 of the riders on your screen. But further back, Jenny Sanchez just dropping off the pace at 10 seconds. Angie Parra, the eternal attacker that is Angie Parra, even gets honourable mentions in the pre-show meetings almost every week because of her attacking skills here. Angie on the climb. Firm favourite. Angie, if you're watching, you're a firm favourite because you keep the action rolling. Even the team behind the scenes always give you a mention.
It's the attack off the start line that Parra is known for. Never one to sit on her laurels and start a race slowly. Absolutely intentions out from the gun. But as we're watching Angie Parra at the moment, she has now just been distanced off the back of that leading group in the Category 2 race. They are a little bit further down the road now, so both Jenny and Jenny and Manuela Sanchez in there, but Jenny Sanchez has been distanced now from that group. She is now 10 seconds back. In fact, you can just see the group going around the corner up ahead of her on the top right-hand corner of your screen. So Reynard, Olsen, Manuela Sanchez, Carana are in there. Jenny Sanchez just off the back now and getting out the saddle and pushing on hard.
So Jenny Sanchez at the moment chasing that leading group. Manuela Sanchez, though, in the group. It is a real select group in here with Reynard, Olsen, Carana and Sanchez leading group in Category 2, right-hand side of your screen. Left-hand side of your screen, Emma, the left-hand group, that group of Category 1 that are trying to close down, it's come back together. What would you be doing here? I know what I'd be doing at the moment, and it's probably breathing out of my ears, so trying to hang on for grim death. But what would you be doing here? You know, you're in this race, you've made it to this selection, you're currently approaching the 30k mark with 5k to go. What are you going to do?
Well, you've got, as you say, Matt, you've got more than 5 kilometres still to go here, and 5 kilometres of significant climbing with a class field as we start to see a push come on the front. And I think it really is about what your strengths are and whether you can kick up and rest, kick up and rest, or whether you need a constant pace to climb. Now, it is 2 kilometres for this Category 1 race field till they get to Alessia Antico, who's at the front of the race field today at the moment, the front of Category 1, but she's the rider in the lead on the road. And I think we're seeing an attack now from Brogan. We know Brogan is a consummate climber, Matt, but Marin is the one with Bauer now coming up, and I think we're going to see this group whittle down a little bit further soon.
Well, really interesting that Jojo Bauer has actually come out the shadows and decided that she needs to actually do something about this and make a move up here. We see some real classic battles between riders, and they know they've ridden against each other so many times. Look at the amount of riders on the right hand side of your screen in the red at the moment, really having to push on here because they know that it's not only steep. I mean, we're over 12% gradient here, and that is going to be hurting. But the pressure is on as well. It's a decisive moment on this climb, and people know they can't afford to let gaps go now. Psychologically, it's absolutely devastating to lose a wheel at this stage in a race, but just as importantly, the amount of effort that you're going to have to put into close back down on this gradient is phenomenal. Brogan, though, very, very strong on the front, really rocketing on, and Elevink is going to see this firsthand as they come up and pass. So Brogan and Quevedo, two of the absolutely superb climbers on MyWhoosh at the very forefront of the riding fields consistently, week in, week out, now pushing up past. And Elevink is going to get a grandstand seat of all these riders coming past.
Well, to be honest, Matt, this Category 1 race field pretty much did an exceptionally long warm-up today. And whilst it might not have been a level 1 warm-up, it was a warm-up according to their stats. And they are now making this a 10.5-kilometre race up a mountain.
It is indeed, and look at this Brogan now with Quevedo. Now these two head to head, it's a really interesting track record. Looking back and having put words to the action over the past year, and if you have been watching for the year, thank you very much. We're still here. Not only that, we're bringing you all the action for the forthcoming Sunday Race Club and the championships as well. I think, having watched them for that length of time, I'm not sure who I would go for. In a hilly race, I would go for Brogan. In a climbing finish, I think I would go for Quevedo of the two. But that's not to discount any of the riders behind, because to be brutally honest, anybody at the front in this leading group, you don't get there by chance. You are an absolute class act.
Yeah, and look at the gradient now coming up to 12% at the moment, Matt, and they haven't shed the riders behind. They are continuing to join on the back of this group. So we've still got a number of riders in that Category 1 race in contention. If we flip to the right-hand side of your screen, this is Elodie Reynard. Reynard has gone off the front of the Category 2 race field. She's got Olsen, Sanchez, Corona and Jenny Sanchez behind now. So she has broken away from that group of 5 riders. So it was 6. Jenny Sanchez went backwards. Now Reynard is going out clear of the rest of that field. So it's looking like some decisive moves are being made in that Category 2 race, as we are witnessing some decisive moves in this Category 1 race.
So Brogan are now right up in the lead with Quevedo, working well here together. Brogan just takes the head from Quevedo, but is this where we see that push on? It levels slightly, it encourages you just to wind it up that little bit more, but then it kicks again here. So as you ride in, the steeper section, you're putting the pressure down, it eases and goes again, and you can just see the yo-yo in here with Quevedo going over the top.
Yeah, well, here's a question for you at the moment, Matt. Do you think Alessia Antico can cross the line and stay first on the road today, or do you think these Category 1 race field are going to catch?
Oh, actually, my heart says that I want Antica to go over the top first and take the first rider over the line. My head and the calculations going on very rapidly whilst I'm filling for time. I have to say, I think the Category 1 are going to not get any slower. In fact, they're going to pick up the pace, and I would say that gap is going to come down. It's going to be tight. I reckon the last kilometre it's going to be a catch.
Yeah, well,
there you go. I'm not going to sit on the fence.
I think if there's going to be a catch, it is indeed going to be tight, but it is going to be an interesting one to see as we're watching our Category 1 race field continue to move up the slopes of this climb. Gemma Brogan leading the group out, Quevedo in too. They've just gone past Jenny Sanchez. Jenny Sanchez, the first rider to be being dropped by that group of leaders in the Category 2 race. And in fact, Brogan is going to come across Terry Tandingen, one of the early breakaway riders in our Category 4 race. Del Rocchio is not far off the back here. Ortiz is here as well. So only 3 seconds at the moment for Brogan and Quevedo from the chasing group.
Well, duo now moving. They had 3, if not 4 riders together here, but this is starting to break apart. That section with the twists, turns, these tight sections where the gradient yo-yos up and down really is showing who can ride this course. It's not just about having the power or being the best climber. It's about being able to ride the race, ride the course, ride out on the platform and getting those miles, getting the kilometers out on the course. It really is key. We've got to remember that in the back of all these riders' heads, I'm sure, is the fact that we're coming in towards the championships that are going to be taking place, and those competition days are going to be really intense. There's a lot of racing with day after day after day, one rest day in the middle. That is very, very tough. So knowing how to ride this and use that energy when you need it is going to be key. when you come into racing day after day, and you need to be very, very smart about that. And I think these riders have that in the back of their head. They want to go through and put fantastic performances down, but they're also going to be using it to learn as much as possible about themselves and the competition.
Well, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because I'm watching Brogan and Quevedo here go up this climb, and they are both using the tactic of kick as, you know, power on, power off, power on, power off, power on, power off. They are not sitting at a steady pace and time trialing their way up here. They really are a very different type of climber and utilizing a different strategy here. You know, Quevedo just kicked to nearly 9 watts per kilo, now back at 5.96. It's yo-yoing all over the place, but the gradient is changing, and the gradient is changing constantly as Quevedo pushes on here with Brogan. Brogan now sitting at 4.7 watts per kilo, but the chase behind is Del Rocco, Ortiz, and it is Geraldo Arrayas as well. Those are the riders chasing behind, and then it's Manshandi and Bauer, but they are now 30 seconds back.
They are, and I think I'm pretty safe in my prediction of how that Antico will not get caught to the last kilometre. She's already gone through the end of segment 7. And it's going to be really interesting to see how much time these riders, with this constant attacking, are going to close down on there. You can see our Category 1 leaders now are 11th, 12th, 13th on the road.
Well, I tell you something, the gradient has gone to less than 1%, and our riders are hurling the breath in through their mouths at the moment. The wattage dropped to around 3 watts per kilo, and you could hear the breath going into their bodies. And as they swallowed a little bit of recovery, the group came back together again. So we've now got 4 riders in the lead in this Category 1 race, about to be being joined by a 5th. So we are going to have Brogan, Geraldo Arrayas, Quevedo, Del Rocchio in there, and Ortiz, but they are got a couple of Category 4 and Category 2 riders in as they now work their way into the top 10 on the road.
So synchronized recovery there pretty much at the same time. If any one of them at that moment in time had the strength to go on, they would have caught the rest napping. But I think absolutely everybody is on limit in such close competition. They're so well matched on here. Great to see, though, that there is that extra dig. Now, getting caught on a flatter section is when you can hitch a ride. You can get a lift in here. Manuel Sanchez and Elodie Reynard doing that in this group. But when the gradient kicks again, this is when we're going to see them in trouble for sure. And that is when we expect to see the Category 1 riders stretching out in front. They've still got plenty of riders up the road, though. You can see Higuita and Golden Light are up the road, along with the rest of the riders all the way through to Antico and Fioroni. And in fact, those 2 riders at the moment separated by about 28 seconds on the road. So I think Antico looking like she's got that gap on Fioroni. It's going to take a little bit of a bit of mass yet, still over 30 seconds up at the front, but they are on their way in towards that finish. There you are, right hand side of your screen. Antico 33.7, 32.6, so just over 1 kilometre separating them. And remember, we've only got to get to 35.
Well, she's only got 1.2 kilometres to go, and that's Alessia Antico, who's the leader on the road at the moment and the leader in that Category 3 race. And the riders in the Category 1 race, they have a little bit further to go. They have got 2.3 kilometres till they see the checkered flag at the top of that Category 1 climb.
So coming up on Higuita, I think at the moment, yep, there we go, Maria Higuita, the next rider to get caught right at the very top of this climb. Great riding by our Category 3-4 riders today. Brilliant to see the performances that they are putting in time and time again. And you can just see that they are really, really pushing on. Now, Del Rocchio takes the lead in Category 1, making her way up here, looking like she wants to come in. She wants to make sure that she's up at the front, and you don't want to let the gap go. You don't want to find that a rider pushes on and you have not responded at the right time. You don't want to get caught on the wrong side. Now Brogan goes at 6 now at 9 watts per kilo. That was a proper kick coming around here as you come in towards this gantry here. It is steep, and this is the key. When you do the right hand turn, you see the gantry, you've got the left hand turn in front of the big building in front, you know that you've got a good kick section to go. This is the end of segment 7, the fastest time to date, 20 minutes 30 seconds going through there. I think that's just going to get smashed apart by Brogan. I'll give you a heads up. It has. Here we go.
So the segment number 7 finishes 2 kilometres before the checkered flag today. Finishes at 33 kilometres. It is a 5-kilometre segment, and Brogan goes through, setting the fastest time in 16 minutes. Quevedo in 2, 5 seconds slower than Ortiz del Rocchio, Geraldo Arraiz, and then it's our Category 2 riders, because they are the riders through that segment at the moment. Manuela Sanchez, Elodie Reynard, then it's Alicia Antico, Carla Ferroni, Lozenza, Ribaldo, Golden Light, and Sirocco Lopez, the riders through segment number 7.
I think really interesting. 16 minutes for the leading Category 1, 18 minutes for the leading Category 2, 20 minutes for the leading category behind. Look at that, Category 3. So brilliant to see that everyone just sort of slotting into the, and it really just find people out. This is what the climb is about. It is about getting up here.
Well, I'll tell you about who's getting caught out here, and that's Carla Fioroni, because the rider coming up hot on the back wheels is Alessia Antico. So is Fioroni going to catch, and Antico going to catch Fioroni? Is she going to lose this in the last few hundred meters? So with 150 meters to go, Antico has gone over the top of Fioroni. Can Fioroni respond? Can Carla Fioroni find anything here? Or is Alessia Antico going to take the win here in category number 3? So Antico sees the finish line. She climbs over the last steep segment at 14% and kicks hard. Fioroni is going to come in 2, because it's Alessia Antico that is going to win today. The MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, she is your Category 3 winner.
So Carla Fioroni comes over the line in second place on the road, and they stay clear of the chasers behind here on qualifier number 1. There are still some more riders, in fact, in that category, sandwiched between the first riders to finish on the climb, and of course the leading and probably fastest riders of the day, without a doubt, the Category 1 leaders on the way up here.
Yeah, well, these Category 1 leaders on the way up here, Matt, currently are having a pause and a small amount of recovery before they go into that final kilometre of racing and that very steep section before the finish line. So 5 riders in the lead group: Quevedo, Brogan del Rocchio, Geraldo Arraiz and Ortiz, all coming up to the last kilometre. A little bit further down the road is Lopez, looking like she's going to be 3rd in our Category 3 race.
But don't forget, we have this tricky finish. We are currently heading for 300 meters to go to the line for Lopez. Behind her is Ribaldo and Golden Light. Then we have the Category 1 leaders who are on the left-hand side of your screen. The time is ticking down, though, for anyone to break away in Category 1. The distance is coming down, and getting the finish right. And by that, I mean get the momentum, the pacing right to the line. You want to go over that line with nothing left, but you don't want to blow before it. We saw Fioroni go over the top of Antico, and Antico get it back because she got the pacing right. Now, here we go. We're in with Ribaldo and Lopez on the road here, and Ribaldo has got the pace. She's at 7.5 watts per kilo, and the gantry is coming, and this is almost a rerun here as Lopez realizes she's in danger. Look at the kick.
Yeah, well, you need a kick because it is a steep section of 16% coming into this finish line, and Lopez is the rider who kicked at the right time here, so Lopez is going to come over in 3. Ribaldo is going to take 4, and it's going to be Golden Light looking at 5 in that Category 3 race.
So Golden Light going to be putting in another top 5 performance here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We've dropped back very quickly, and great to see we are down in with the leaders of Category 1 and in fact Category 2, because Elodie Reynard is right in the mix here. But look at this move going now.
Yeah, we've got 400 metres to go as the riders are going to come around this right-hand turn in this Category 1 race and see the finish line. Going through is indeed Golden Light for 5th in that Category 3 race. So Ortiz del Rocco, Quevedo, Brogan and Geraldo Arraiz here in this Category 1 race, now sweeping around this right-hand bend. They're going to see the finish line banner. They've got 170 metres to go, and as Matt says, the timing is important. Brogan looks like she's been broken now and is 5 seconds back as Ortiz kicks at 11 watts per kilo. Del Rocco goes 2. In fact, Quevedo's kicking at 12. Quevedo is the rider who's pushing on here. She's pushing on hard. Can she get caught? No, Quevedo goes through in first place in the Category 1 final race today in qualifier round number 1.
Well, what a result. And Gemma Brogan is now on her way up here. I'll tell you something, that is a great performance by Elodie Reynard. She held with Brogan on the way through here, and Elodie Reynard is going to come through to take the win in category number 2 as she comes in through. She's managed to stay clear of Manuela Sanchez, who's just behind. Sanchez kicking all the way into the line. Great race there between those two competitors. Let's have a look at those results,
Wow.
Emma. That is something else again. Brilliant.
Absolutely outstanding racing, and wow, what a last kilometre in that Category 1 women's race. So Karut Quevedo takes the win today in 1 hour 13 minutes and 22 seconds. 1 second back, it's Geraldo Arrayas from Del Rocco, from Ortiz, from Gemma Brogan, our early attacker on that final climb. In the Category 2 race, it's Reynard from Manuela Sanchez, and in the Category 3 race, it's Alessia Antico from Carla Fioroni.
And don't forget, of course, all the results at the moment, they are on a live race. They will stay live until the riders have all finished, and they will be unofficial and then will be verified.
They are indeed, Matt. And it's going to be great to see who comes through on those results. So head over to the MyWhoosh.com website and take a look at those. Where can we find you on social media, Matt?
It is at Matt Fixer Paint. You can find me and yourself, Emma?
You can find me at Biking Emma on Instagram. Do please get in contact with either Matt or myself, Emma Martin, because it would be great to hear from you. Now, enjoy your riding this week. Stay safe from all the team here in the studio and the team at MyWhoosh. It's been a fantastic qualifier race number 1 on the Sunday Race Club in April. We look forward to seeing you all next week. Goodbye.